Before we dig in, a quick thank you to the sponsors ready to grow with the Soil Sisters. Fed and Happy is the official nutrient provider for the Soil Sisters projects because we believe in the Fed and Happy philosophy that if the worms won't eat it, neither will we. And Tejas Tonic is the official beverage of the Texas Soil Sisters. We especially love that the hemp for Tejas Tonic is organically farmed in the Texas Hill Country, with farms in both Dripping Springs and Lukenbach, Texas. The Soil Sisters podcast is powered by B&P Electric. Whether you're building, remodeling, installing low-voltage landscape lighting, or in need of an inspection, B&P is your Central Texas electrical contractor. Find links to our sponsors in the podcast show notes or head over to txsoilsisters.co. You're listening to the Soil Sisters podcast, where we dig in on family farming and ranching, regenerative agriculture, healthy living, and planting seeds in our community. We invite you to listen, subscribe, and grow with the Soil Sisters. I'm Johanna Newding, joined by my blood, soul, and soil sister, Crystal. Welcome to the show.
Hi, sister.
Hello, sis. How's it going today?
So good. How are you?
I'm good. For those that didn't catch last week's show, we had such a great chat with Ethan Peters and Angela Bardis, two of our locals who are creating a homeschool co-op here in town. And we look forward to having more of our favorite local farmers and regenerative ag nerds join us on the show.
Yes, so exciting. It was really great to hear from them and what their vision is. And man, having a 31-year-old child, I really, really wish I had access to something like that for him.
Oh, yeah. Back in the day, man, I mean, the world would be totally different if we had more of that. But no time like the present to make good changes.
Absolutely.
And today, folks just have the sisters in their ears.
Yes, exactly. And the connections that we have made with really thoughtful and like-minded, higher-minded individuals who are looking to make positive change in their families, in their world, in their community. And I'm so excited. I feel like we just keep bumping into these people who really are interested in making the world a better place, and that has been thrilling.
Well, and you know what you put out comes back, so maybe we're magnets for these people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You get what you focus on, and this is what we're focused on. So evidently,
yes,
and obviously.
So one of the fun things that keeps coming up for me in life and in agriculture is the idea that context is everything.
Oh, God, help us all. Yes.
Man, I mean, that keeps showing up for me. And we had a really great engagement with the Holistic Management International Executive Director and Christine Martin, one of the folks that is participating and teaching off of her land through, you know, her own holistic management integration that she's done out on her property. And so at the beginning of the week, you and I filled out a scholarship application so that we can go to holistic management school.
I love it. I'm really excited. And the idea that we'll be able to do it and focus on another person's situation and like take it out of your house, like stop thinking about yourself and look at this example and participate in that. I cannot wait. I feel like it's going to be so much easier to wrap my mind around it when I'm not looking at it personally like it's my own problem. Yeah.
So what it is a 6-day training where you go to somebody else's ranch and you work through the entire holistic management setup and observing the land and what are the goals of the operation and figuring out how to create a profitable business using these holistic management tools.
Yeah. Yes. And I'm telling you, if you've ever wanted or tried to do this for yourself, I really want to. And it's very important for me that we do this. And yet when I sit down and try to put into words what it is we're trying to do. I mean, it's just like, oh yes, let's go watch someone else do it and participate in their process, and just really gain my own understanding through someone else's story.
Well, and for me, it's easy for me to put it into words because I'm a wordsmith. That's what I do for a living.
Yeah.
But then to make it practical and applicable and understand the ins and outs and nuts and bolts of the business of farming and ranching. Like, we did not get that education growing up.
Exactly.
So it's like, I know what I want this to be. I have my vision, but I have no idea how to get from A to Z.
Yeah. Well, and also understanding how it works in your life and having your holistic goal that is, I want to feel happy. I want to feel healthy. I want to feel energized, and making all of your decisions based on your holistic goals. So if something is going to exhaust you and just absolutely wear you out, that's not going to be part of your program. And I have lived a life of struggle, and literally from a place of survival mode. So I didn't really have options. It was like, you just go, and don't worry about anything. You have to do this no matter what. So the idea that I can frame the way that I want my life to be and then make decisions based around that, it's just the most beautiful, perfect thing that I can think of. And I'm really excited.
Well, and especially since the reason we weren't taught these things, besides the fact that we're girls, was that was not a life that our father wanted for us. Yeah. Because he just saw what his world was.
Right. Which was struggle and lack and not enough.
It's a cold, cruel world out there.
Oh, yeah, it is. The problem with that is, hon, it's that it's a cold, cruel world. Oh, my gosh.
So, yes, this holistic management on the farm kind of situation where it's hands-on, that's the best way to learn. And so it was really funny filling out that application where, you know, they ask about your sales and marketing skills. And I'm like, 5, 5, 5. And then all of the stuff that has to do with accounting, the business side, I'm like 1, 1, 1. So
well, I love it because those were my 4s and 5s.
See, we're perfectly matched,
I know.
Sister.
Thank heavens.
So the other place that the holistic management conversation has kind of come up in our recent adventures and this whole idea that context is everything was us attending a Sacred Ecoliteracy class with Daniel Firth Griffith. And it was hosted here in Lockhart at J Ranch by our friends at Gardeners of Eden. And that was really focused on listening. And we talk about that a lot here on the air and then just in our own day-to-day conversations about our projects and what we're doing. It's just the value and importance of listening. And we talk all the time about the plants and the animals being sentient beings like we are. But Daniel's question to us all is, but are you listening to them?
Exactly.
Like, so you know this, science has proven to us that they, and we all are sentient beings, but how many of you are making decisions based on what you want, not listening to the land and the livestock? So I thought that was a really interesting way to think about it and reevaluate what we're doing.
I loved it as well, but it also just gave me a lot of joy, truly, to think about how we do live and how every prayer that I pray is for better connection with my world and my higher power, and how can I be better at doing what I'm doing to make other people's lives better, to make the earth, the land happy, better. So it's just like wonderful. I am so happy to hear that because it really is. That's what's most important to me. And I know that we're doing that. Again, outside of whatever, we're doing that. So,
and we're doing that, but talking about it in a more practical way.
Yes.
Of, okay, I'm looking out at this field, these are the things that I'm seeing. What are these weeds, and what is the soil telling us? What are these weeds saying to us? And looking at it more through a scientific lens, but, still being guided by our hearts.
Yeah.
And I think the way Daniel presents the information for a lot of people in the regular ag community, people that are coming off of transitioning into regenerative agriculture from that traditional model, they look at him and they're like, what is this woo? I don't even think they know the word woo.
Yeah.
They just are like, what is happening right now?
Well, and if that's what we should all be doing, is learning to listen to our own self, to our own body, because our body is an instrument panel and it's constantly giving us information. And that information is telling us that how we're looking at and thinking about the situation, it's either taking you toward the goal that you want, or it's taking you toward what you don't want. So if it feels good when you're thinking about it, then you're thinking about it in a way that's helpful to you. If it feels bad, you are holding a perspective that is keeping you from what you want. It is just pulling you in the direction of that thing that you keep saying you don't want. Bless us, everyone.
And she's grinning ear to ear at me because I was just noticing something that I don't like, and I told her about it. So, yeah, message received.
Well, for all of us, for everyone, really, because we've lived in a world that is baiting us constantly with things to upset us. And every moment you are being triggered, and you can either be triggered and deal with that, or get over it and move the energy around it and keep moving in the direction of what you want. So here's to all of us getting over being trigger happy, myself included.
Yeah. And I think, too, if we can hear something and then instead of immediately, well, this is what I think, and it be a reflective, this is what I just heard.
Yeah.
And then making sure that we're all in alignment and on the same page before we then start sharing what we think. Because I feel, which me saying I feel, Daniel told us in that class, he's like, we think too much. We need to feel.
Yeah.
And I remember telling him that as a journalism student, getting a degree in communications and broadcasting, I was told to stop feeling, that my job was to think, and to remove feeling out of my vocabulary. And so it's so fascinating to see the things that, as a 48-year-old woman, I'm, unlearning and then reintroducing these things that were very natural to me as a teenager, going off to college and being full of feels.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Well, and that is where I want us all to get to, this place where we understand that how it looks is not nearly as important as how it feels, because the better it feels, the better it's naturally going to be. But it can look good all day long, but if there's no substance there, there's no substance there. Yeah. And that goes for people and plants, food, all the stuff. It doesn't matter what it looks like. You know that. You've seen the most beautiful meal. It smelled delicious, and you took a bite and you were like, oh my God.
Yeah.
Or you've seen that person that was so beautiful on the outside and literally had nothing inside. Yeah. So we've all had the experience, and now just recognizing and understanding that and really allowing it to sink in to your life. Like, how does this feel to me right now?
Yeah. And more so, relationships. Is this relationship feeding my soul?
Yeah.
Is this bogging me down? Is this holding me back? Where, all of these different things, they require us to stop thinking and to listen and feel and evaluate. So I think the context is everything. Idea in life, land, livestock, all of the things. Yep. It's so important to keep in mind first and foremost.
Yeah.
Like, okay, what is this current situation? Who are the players? What's happening? And because there is no one size fits all solution, there's no way to just rubber stamp something every time.
Well, and our most important, like, why are we doing this? Begin with the end in mind. What do I want? Why am I doing this? And then when we know what we want and why we want that, then we can begin to build out around it, how we want it to look. But most importantly, because that's what I try to teach people all the time, it doesn't matter what car you drive. It doesn't matter what your clothes look like. It doesn't matter if you have that fancy handbag. If your heart is broken or empty, or if your mind is a scrambled mess, or if your stomach is in a knot all the time, who cares what you've got? Who cares what you look like if you're miserable?
Yeah.
So how do I want to feel? I want to feel joyful. I want to feel inspired. I want to feel excited. I want to feel of service to the whole. Inspired action, excitement, and joy. These are the things that we should be looking for. You know, when they ask you questions in your interview, like, where do you see yourself in 5 years? I always stumped them because I'd be like, joyfully happy and healthy and loving what I do. Because if I'm not planning on that 5 years out, well,
See, and that's good because I always hated that question because I'm like, I barely know what I want right now. How am I going to know what I want in 5 years?
Exactly.
But I always know that I want to be happy and healthy and vibrant and living in abundance. So yeah, that would, what are they going to say to that?
Takes the pressure out of it. Well, and then they know who you are. So, good. Excellent.
So I read something today in one of the holistic management pamphlets I took off of their table at the Southern Family Farmers and Food Systems Conference. I mean, it's a mouthful every time I say it. But I thought it was really good because it was just a quick little article that was written by a woman who calls herself an unlikely rancher from North Dakota, somewhere super cold. When she graduated, all she wanted to do was like get to Arizona, be somewhere warm. And right before she's planning to move, she meets this amazing man. And a couple of weeks into their relationship, he invites her to go to a wedding with him. And she ends up at his family's home and sees these pictures of him with the Stetson hat and the Wranglers, and they're on this family's property. And she's like, oh no, I do not want to end up here. And there's going to be a point in his life when he's going to want to end up here. Yeah. So I need to just bow out of this relationship now. And so she's figuring out how she's just going to back her way out of being in a relationship with him. And he wasn't going to have it. He's like, I don't want to live out here. I don't want to be a part of the ranch. No. So she ends up staying in North Dakota. She has a degree in teaching. So she's a teacher. They get a house in a cul-de-sac and it's on 2.5 acres because he needs a little bit of space. And then over the course of the next 10 years, they never meet one of their neighbors. They think maintaining a 2.5 acre yard is ridiculous. And why in the world did they get a yard this big? And they can't keep up with their neighbors. And they had been trying to have a child, and she was not able to carry the child. She kept having miscarriages. And so this whole thing that they thought they wanted devastated, whatever. So I want to read this part because I feel like a lot of people, we get to a point where things in our lives are just kind of not going where we wanted them to go. And this part, I thought it was really good because she's just talking about the things that she started considering. So she says, we started to question things that we hadn't thought to question before. Mainstream conventional practices, for a start. The difference in philosophies between conventional Western medicine and traditional holistic practices. The difference in philosophies between conventional agriculture and holistic management. We questioned and we researched. Water quality, food supply. Where is our food coming from? How is it raised or grown? How does soil health affect nutrient density and fertility? Chemical effects, pharmaceutical effects, side effects. We begin to truly tune in to our symptoms. We searched for root causes. We learned in hindsight that just because a product in any market is quote unquote approved or quote unquote recommended does not ensure safety, efficacy, or restoration of health. We learned that what helps or hurts one person or animal might not help or hurt the next. We learned to become skeptical of one-size-fits-all advice. And so they decided to move out to the ranch. And he had been working in holistic management as a teacher, and they had ended up adopting a child. And she changed her diet. They changed their lifestyles. And then she became pregnant.
Yes.
And while she was away from work, she was able to go with her husband to one of these holistic management classes. And she was like, I was blown away at how amazing he was, and like totally fell in love with him all over again. And with this idea of being on the ranch. And at the end, she says, the truth is holistic management has helped us see things differently. And that has made all the difference. It has given us hope and a renewed sense of purpose. So these days, a large part of our current business model here at Seek First Ranch is sharing our journey with others so they don't feel isolated like we did or like we thought we would. Together, we're building the community of our dreams, a community that knows how to ask the right questions, a community that builds soil health, rejuvenates resources, cares for creation, promotes profitability, and values quality of life.
Yes.
So good.
I love it.
Right?
Yes.
That is exactly what I want for us. I want us to be able to do that and create a teaching opportunity, out on the ranch and with what we're doing. You're
too.
looking at me like we need to take an underwriting announcement.
And so we will.
Well, that was perfect timing.
Yes.
All right. Would you like to nerd out on water with me, or do you want to do so? I know you've gotten a lot of questions lately from the community about gardening. Where would you like to go next?
Well, we can talk water first.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm interested.
Well, I've been so frustrated with myself because I drink spring water, and so I'm constantly getting the big jugs because I don't have space to put like one of those big water stands anywhere. And so I get a 3-gallon jug of water or a bunch of those 1 gallons. And by the time it's trash day, I have a lot of plastic jugs. Now, granted, we know that we now have mushrooms that can eat plastic.
Yes.
Which we will talk about that another time. We have a fun project in the works with Fallen Oak Mycology in Austin. So we'll give you the scoop on that another time. But right now we're talking about my wasteful plastic water habit. So I'm just like, okay, there has to be a better way because all the different water things that I want are like $500 or $800. And, I'm just a gal living paycheck to paycheck right now, just putting a lot of sweat equity into the Soil Sisters. So there's got to be a way to make the water that's available to me through that darn tap. How can I make this water good for me? So it made me think about that documentary that we watched a really long time ago, Dr. Masaru Emoto, the Japanese water scientist.
Yes.
He's the author of the New York Times bestseller, The Hidden Messages in Water.
Yes.
So basically, this man scientifically proved that water is sensitive to our thoughts, words, and feelings. Therefore, water can change its molecular structure according to the environment it's introduced to. Basically, water is conscious.
Yes.
And if you want to see that with your own eyes, there is a great Instagram feed that I love. It is at Veda Austin _water. And she spells her name VEDA Austin _water. So she posts pictures of the secret intelligence of water. And she teaches classes on how to do this experiment, her technique for freezing water. she is a water researcher, public speaker, author, all this kind of stuff. She's been observing water over the last 10 years and photographing the life of water. So there was this one particular picture on her feed where she had been watching one of those shows like Game of Thrones or something and was thinking about the helmets that these knights wore back in the day and how hard it must have been to see through them. So she's thinking about all of this, and she's got her water, the glass of water there. So it doesn't even have to be happening immediately. So this water sitting on her counter during that show. So then she goes back and pours the water up using her technique, does the flash freeze thing, and it comes back with the picture of a knight's helmet on it. It's just so cool.
Yeah.
And so the idea being that intention is the precursor to visible change.
Yes. Yes.
Our thoughts become things.
Absolutely.
So with this water that has all kinds of stuff in it that we don't like, it's like, how can I make this water okay? So whenever I pour this water, just blessing it and telling it how good it is and how I appreciate how it's going to hydrate me and how I'm going to get all of the best from it.
Write your little note, a little love note, and stick it to your glass. Also, another thing, just to make it taste better, pour it into your pitcher and then let it sit out for 24 hours. And the chlorine begins to evaporate out of that. So that in and of itself. And then also, one thing that I learned through the soil food web is you can add just a touch of humic acid, and that will take the chloride and the chlorine out of the water. So you get humic acid. You can order it from places online, but make sure that it's
food grade.
Yeah, totally. So
when I moved to Italy and I was taking the molecular silver because I no longer had health insurance when I left. And then
it was a humic and a fulvic acid.
Okay, fulvic acid. Yep. Okay, because I just remember I was drinking black water.
Yeah, the humic is the really dark, and the fulvic is like a golden. But yeah, both of those are very good. They're great in our soil, and they're good for our bodies.
So is it a granular kind that you would put in the water, or is it a liquid?
The granular, like we used to buy the liquid, but the granular you just would sprinkle a little in your water and then mix that up and then add that.
Would I do it per glass or just add it to the whole pitcher?
Yeah, add it to the pitcher.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to give this a shot. I actually want to look at her techniques to see if I can actually pull that off. But she has some visuals also of just control of like, this is what tap water looks like.
Right.
And so it's just disjointed. There's no structure to it. And then she took the same tap water, put intention into it, and it almost looked like blades of grass growing, straight lines that kind of came up and out.
Yes.
So, and I also read that if you have hard water is better for you than the water that's been put through a softener, that city water.
Well, all right then.
Yeah. Well, it makes sense too, I guess, because, we
Minerals.
used to say there's gyp. Yeah. So that's calcium, right?
Depends. I don't know.
I don't know. But anyway, I'm like, okay.
Hey, tell
I don't
yourself
know,
whatever you want.
I don't know who that source was, but it did mention that tap water was better than the other.
Then like reverse osmosis, that's been completely stripped.
Probably, but they had said softened water. So
Okay.
I'm assuming that's those folks in town that whenever I take a shower and I just feel slick as snot, like I never feel like I got all the soap off of me.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh yeah, you have water softener. But I don't like to wash my clothes in the hard water at our house, but now I'm going to start drinking it.
Yeah.
Bless
Excellent.
me.
Well,
Bless
you know
me,
what?
bless my water.
We are tough. We grew up drinking interesting water.
Well, yeah, we grew up with gyp water.
Yeah.
I was brushing my teeth with that stuff until I went to college.
Exactly.
Washing our hair in it. We had a great body in our hair. But But if you are curious to learn more or to dig into this, you can find The Living Language of Water. That is the name of Veda Austin's book. You can check that out online. Also, if you want to nerd out on water consciousness and check out the research by Dr. Emoto, again, his New York Times bestseller is The Hidden Messages in Water.
I love it.
Yeah. I mean, it's so beautiful to look at these pictures. But what I was looking at, what I wanted, where it kind of sent me down this rabbit hole, was the Vortex Water Revitalizer.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So it is this copper cone, and you pour your water through it, and so it circles it,
Yes.
through that cylindrical way that creates a vortex imitating the motion that water naturally goes through in nature. And so for a single size of one of these things, it was over $500. And then the bigger the vortex, it was like $800. I'm like, this is insane.
Pray over it.
I mean, look at this. It's literally looks like a copper funnel.
Nice.
Yeah. Expensive. So I'll put that on my bucket list. And in the meantime, bless my tap water.
Absolutely. We grew up out in the West. I was telling Dion, our dad told us he had a necklace that said people are tougher out here in the West. I mean, it was difficult. It was hard. He was get tough, or I don't know, guess you're just going to lay there and die 'cause we're not helping you. We had to be tough.
Well, and ironically enough, whenever I'd gone to New York at age 25 to do all of those interviews to get into the radio apprentice program, the person that I was staying with, Daddy had given me that charm and just said, it'll be all right on one side. And the other side said, people are tougher out in the West.
Yeah.
And I had it on a long chain, and I typically wore it all the time and never took it off. Well, it didn't go with my outfit, so I had taken it off. It was in my suitcase. And the kid who I was taking care of me, my chaperone on this trip, he had taken me to happy hour, and then we got on the subway, and I had one of my suitcases. He had the other, and he forgot, and he left my suitcase with my makeup and my clothes and my jewelry
Gasp.
on the subway.
Uh-oh.
Needless to say, I never saw it again. I just had my carry-on bag, so I wore the same clothes to those interviews the next day. Oh, my gosh,
how embarrassing. Johanna, I can't believe you show your face around
I had no makeup. The very first interview I went into, the woman, I told her what had happened, and she pulled her makeup out of her desk drawer and let me use her hair products and makeup to throw myself together.
Oh, well, thank goodness.
I know, but
my gosh,
he was right.
Again.
People are tougher out in the West.
You are cracking me up.
I had 9 interviews that day, and I aced it. Thank you.
Well,
but I feel like people felt sorry for me. I maybe got into the program because they're like, man, she's been through a lot. We just need to let her in.
Oh, gosh.
All right. I was looking for the studies on tap water. I was killing a little bit of time trying to find that so I could tell you what I read about municipal tap water, but I can't find it. So why don't you just hit me with the gardening question?
All right. My first question is from a 4-year-old. And she wants to know if she should always wash the produce before eating it.
Well, that's real cute.
Well, exactly. And so it depends on who grew it. If you bought it from the grocery store, I would say wash it first. If you know who grew it, or if you grew it yourself, then you don't have to wash it at all. Maybe do what Dion does and just rub it off on your shirt or your shorts.
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
What about those sprays that you can buy in the store now?
You know what I do is I put a little vinegar in a sink of cold water and just drop them all in there and let them float for 15 minutes and then rinse them off and put them up.
Well, right.
Yeah.
I love that we have a little 4-year-old gardener in training.
I know, that makes me happy. They also wanted to know if we can grow bananas and avocados in Texas. And there are some varieties. The problem with bananas and avocados is that they need a longer time of it being warm outside for them, for the fruit to be able to ripen. So we don't typically, and certainly not here, maybe in South Texas, but also in context is key. And sometimes you might have a protected space on the south side of the building that could potentially, maybe at some point, would be long enough between a season that it would be able to grow it, but not typically.
Well, and I would also like to add that it's our responsibility to be good stewards of our water supply. So how much water does it take? How much water do you have? And, us growing the things that we can really support without stressing out our water system.
Yeah. But also, if the fruit takes too long to ripen, then that's just not typically something that would be more frustrating than
this
fun.
is just practical Joe over here adding her 2 cents. Ooh, okay, time out. The report Take Back the Tap reveals that 64% of bottled water comes from municipal tap water sources. Exactly. So even if you are buying bottled water, you better bless it.
Exactly. Oh my gosh.
All right, sorry to interrupt. Go back.
There's no truth in advertising.
Well,
like they can tell you whatever they want to tell you. So buy my product.
Well, and also being on strategic marketing teams for years,
right,
working in corporate America, we will sit and we can take data and we can make the data say whatever we need the data to say. I mean, my job was corporate storytelling.
Yeah, exactly. Storytelling, people.
I mean, if I had to define myself in one word, it would be storyteller. So let's not make that a bad thing. It's just who you're telling stories for. I mean, when I told corporate stories, I made a boatload of money and had nothing to worry about ever and went wherever I wanted for as long as I wanted and lived a pretty cush life.
Yeah.
And then I went and got a conscience.
Dang.
Okay, Sissy, hit me with another gardening question.
The next question on my list here is, how often do people have to tend to their gardens, daily, etc.? Well, this goes back to like knowing what you want in the beginning. What's your intention to add some fresh vegetables for your salad or to feed yourself completely, and just like figuring out what it is that you want to do, because that will absolutely depend how much time you have to spend in the garden. So we spend time every day in our garden, but for the past 8 days, I was barely out there at, just watering here and there. So you can spend every day and for long amounts of time out there finding something to do. There's always something to do, but you don't necessarily have to be out there all the time.
Well, and I will say that while you weren't there very much for 7 or 8 days, you had a partner that was taking care of everything and harvesting, because y'all have stuff blowing up in your garden every day.
Yeah, but she wasn't able to be out there the whole time either. So, but yeah, just depends.
But I like that. Are you wanting to just supplement your grocery bill, or are you wanting to take the bulk of it, you know, and do most of that at home?
Yeah. And I would say start small. And one thing that was so fun that Dion has been doing for years is every celery, every onion that we get, she just chops the bottom off and goes and puts it in the garden. So we have celery that we have grown from grocery store celery in your garden. And onions, little green onions, those are also, because one of the questions is, what are the easiest foods to grow for beginners? And onions, those are really easy.
I have some organic potatoes that are starting to sprout, root, whatever. Do you just put the whole potato in the ground and cover it up?
You know what?
It
you can
half?
Cut it into a few pieces so that there's a 1 or 2 little eyes, because those are starting to grow out. So you just put them in some soil and cover them up. And also you can just cover them with straw or hay and they will grow through that. So yeah, that's fun. And potatoes are such a good thing to grow because, we're always... I'm always eating potatoes.
Well, it was funny, too. I had never harvested potatoes until we were doing it in your
Yes.
in your yard, in your garden, and it was so strange to just like dig your hands down in the dirt and just start feeling around.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was fun. It was like bobbing for apples. I mean, trying to pull out, like, I think I got them all. And then you'd stick your hand in there and then you'd find some. That's fun. And that'd be fun for kids.
Oh, totally. Absolutely. And I found multiple ones after they were all gone. Like I went through to, put other stuff in that bed, and there were more potatoes that we
And that was
didn't
not
get.
a very big bed.
No.
Was it like 2 feet square?
Yes. Yeah. 2 of those. Yeah.
Well, would you like me to bring over some of my potatoes to you? They're organic.
I literally just planted a whole thing that Dawn brought us some that she did the same thing with.
Okay, that's fine.
Whatever, man.
I didn't want you to have them anyway.
Oh. No problem.
So whenever someone is saying, when you say start small, what does starting small look like? 1 raised bed, 2 raised beds? Sorry, I just also thought,
What?
I saw a dude today just taking a whole carrot and putting a whole carrot in the ground. And then it went to seed. And then he got the seeds and then he planted the seeds, and then you'll have fruit. And then the next year you get seeds.
Yeah.
Or then, I don't know.
Yeah. Excellent. I've never planted a whole carrot.
He literally just put the whole carrot down into the ground.
But you know what? And that's also same thing as like cutting a carrot top off, because that green part, if you cut a carrot top off, that's exactly what will happen. It'll grow some roots, but it will flower, and then you can collect those seeds. I collected cilantro, dill, what else? Several different seeds. Oh, sunflowers, zinnias, a lot of those.
Yeah, I'm collecting a lot of my flower seeds, the deadheads, so that I can share them with my neighbors so that we can have flowers everywhere
It's so
next
fun.
year.
It's so fun. Yeah, and super easy.
And they're beautiful the whole time, like
Yeah.
even dead. And I just have them in a big vase. And they're just beautiful. Even the dead flowers are pretty.
Yes. Yes. She is asking, is it best to do it in a raised bed or just personal preference? And I would say it can be easier in a raised bed if your soil isn't great where you want your garden. So that's always easy. And I want to say start where you are with whatever you have. And don't be intimidated. Plant some seeds. Use the best soil that you can afford. So don't worry about getting the best of everything. Just do what you can. And we start where we are and we build from there. And so one really good natural fertilizer, if that's something that's interesting, is again the fish hydrolysate. I think I talked about that last week or a couple weeks ago. That's very exciting. Just natural things that we can use too. And that helps also feed the microbiology in the soil. So for beginners, learning also what's happening in your soil and how to give your plants the best shot of being healthy is, again, it's easier when you start small and just get going. And then it's so exciting and so fun. And you say, how often do I need to spend time out there? And you'll be going out to look every day to see what's grown and how, if your seeds are coming up or how big it's gotten or if there's any fruit on there. So there's always reasons that is going to pull you out there and be fun and exciting and something to share with your family and your friends. And it's so fun. One of my favorite things is showing people through our garden. And it's just like taking everyone through and pointing to all the stuff. And we don't have that big a yard, but we just got a lot of stuff back there. But it really is so fun to share that with people.
And if you are just starting and you don't have a frame of reference for your soil, just having powerhouses like the worm castings and the mushroom compost and making sure you cover it with the straw to hold in the moisture, those sorts of things. A monkey could plant some things and grow if you're using the right tools.
But not a banana.
Excellent, sister. I appreciate that one. That's good.
Thanks.
So I did a little Soil Sisters homework today.
Okay.
that I wanted to share with you. So at the conference, I got one of the flyers for the Texas Climate Smart Initiative.
Oh, good.
It's a 5-year pilot project led by Texas A&M AgriLife Research, and it's funded by the USDA NRCS. And this, as they're calling it, groundbreaking initiative aims to foster climate-smart agriculture for all major Texas ag commodities and create market opportunities across these commodities. So I was looking at it, and it was saying that the incentives are priced at or above what EQIP gives you. Okay. And EQIP is the Environmental Quality Incentives Program through the USDA. So we had looked into some of that as well. Well, when we were home at the ranch, we were having some conversations with our father about creating a sublease for the acreage that we're farming and just include in the sublease that we have access to the headquarters so that we can use our farm number and get opportunities that are for underserved farmers and new farmers, even though we're 5th generation on this property. Yeah. So he was open to that. And so we are, once I get a few podcasts edited, I'm going to write that up. So I just was looking through this because we're like, okay, well, we know what cover crops we want to plant.
Yes.
And we ran that through the calculator and came up with about $3,000.
Yeah.
And so then it's like, okay. So now is Daddy going to think we're paying for this seed, or is he going to pay for this seed? How's this going to work? So that's what made me pick this up and start looking. So there are some row crop opportunities that I think we should apply for. One of them is Practice 340 for cover crop. Mm-hmm. And so through the program, the TCSI, this Texas Climate Smart Initiative, they will pay $80 per acre for cover crop, where the EQIP program is $72.19 per acre. Mm-hmm. So there's not a huge differential there. But if it's 80 acres and it's $80 per acre, then that's $6,400. Mm-hmm. Yes. So then that would pay for the seed and then be money left over to pay for the
farmer
to operate the tractor and whatnot. So anyway, that seems doable. And I looked online, and this is something that there's not a specific window of time when you have to apply for this. Mm-hmm. They look at it, I think, a couple of times a month, maybe they go through. There's also Practice 345 for reduced tillage, and that pays out $30 per acre through this conservation program and $18.81 through EQIP. Mm-hmm. So there's also a mulching, Practice 484 for mulching. And that one,
I'm interested.
That one wasn't on this sheet, but it was online.
Okay.
So I can't remember what the payout for that one is. But then Practice 590 is nutrient management. Yeah. So let's look into those, figure out, budget-wise. Through this program, we have a maximum award of $40,000.
Okay.
But let's go.
Seriously. Because I love mulching.
Well, that's the other thing. When we had talked about what do we do with all of this mesquite on the ranch, years ago with our Uncle Frank, we had looked into purchasing a wood chipper.
Yeah.
And according to him, it was really expensive.
We're going to have to do our own research into that.
And also find out if there's one through the FSA office or something that people use, because it just makes sense. Exactly. Either that or invest in one that's mobile and take it around, because there's plenty of mesquite that could be turned into mulch.
Exactly. So exciting. Because that's what literally all the soil needs around here is biology. I mean, really.
Well, and it adds the fungal matter to acidic soil.
Yeah.
And especially, in places where you have a giant, beautiful tree and there's nothing growing underneath it.
Yeah.
Just being able to mulch everywhere.
Yes. I love it. The trees love it too.
So I'm going to tell you real quick, you and everybody else out there. So these are the program requirements. If you think that the Texas Climate Smart Initiative might be good for your crops, your forestry land, or your livestock, the working land obviously has to be in the state of Texas. You have to have a farm number. You can't already be receiving federal funding for any of the practices that you're wanting to participate in. And you must be willing to allow TCSI to collect soil and assess the GHG emissions, greenhouse gases. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, yes.
Yeah.
Fine
Perfect.
with me.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Do it. Let's go.
And the benefits of participation is you can choose multiples. Okay, let's go after these. So you don't have to just focus on just one. It's a one-time application for 3+ years of enrollment.
Yay.
Yes. You have the ability to participate in multiple projects as long as there's no other federal incentive for the same practice on the same land at the same time. Okay. So even if Daddy has done some of these things at other parts of the ranch,
which he has not.
Oh, good times. And then you also get support from the TCSI team from start to finish, they say. So
I love it.
Yeah, we'll have coaches.
I love it. I love a coach.
Yeah, coaching is good. That's why I'm super excited about this holistic management thing.
Me too.
I'm like, yes, hold my hand.
Yes, please.
Teach me how to do this.
Give me an example.
Well, and then I'm happy to pay it forward.
Yes.
Show me what to do.
My gosh,
and then
absolutely.
We'll absolutely host one of these at our ranch.
Yeah.
So anyway, all good stuff happening, sis.
I agree.
Connect with the Soil Sisters at txsoilsisters.co. Submit questions, guest or show ideas, and sponsorship inquiries. The Soil Sisters podcast was created and produced by Johanna Nuding. Editing and sound design are in the capable hands of the PodConnects Podcast Network.